We will go high. Love, grace, humility will win. And then you tell everybody to go to hell. You think that's going to work for you, Coach White? Think that's going to work for you? The reality of the situation is none of that stuff will win if it's left up to you, Stephanie White. Because you're not handling it right. You playing right into their hands. Right into their hands.
What happens when StephenASmith stops analyzing the Indiana Fever and begins challenging Stephanie White's leadership head-on? A growing controversy involving Sophie Cunningham, Dijonai Carrington, and a questionable coaching decision has suddenly placed White under intense scrutiny, while Caitlin Clark and her teammates seem prepared to stand behind their coach. But what exactly did Stephen A. notice that pushed him to question White so directly? And could this tense confrontation reveal a much deeper issue within the Indiana Fever?
Our player safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win. We are united. We are connected. We will not.
StephenASmith has just turned the Indiana Fever's latest controversy into a much bigger story, because this time, the issue is not simply about whether Stephanie White made the wrong decision. It is now raising serious questions about her leadership, judgment, and the direction of the team.
Facing the reality of the tense situation that the WNBA, and especially you as the coach of the Indiana Fever, is involved in. There are folks in Indiana at a home game booing you. You ain't the road team, you the home team, you the home coach, and they booing you. And Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark can speak up for you all they want to, as they did, and as they should have.
The real question is whether the Fever coach has lost the trust of the very players she is expected to lead, while StephenASmith is now pressing for answers that are becoming harder and harder for the organization to ignore.
White, I've been a defender, the coach of the Fever. Get her out of there. Get her out of there. Fire her ass today. I don't want her back on that bench. Stop defending the other players. Oh, she plays hard, DJ. That's just her being her. You see Caitlin in the press conference almost cover her ears and her eyes. Defend your players. First of all, you're wrong. It was a dirty play. She's gone. But when do you ever see in like the NBA a coach not defend their own players? She hasn't done it with Caitlin when Caitlin got punched in the throat.
The controversy started with a play that somehow created more drama than some entire WNBA games. During the Indiana Fever's August 8th matchup against the Chicago Sky, Dijonai Carrington was ejected after making contact with Sophie Cunningham near the head and neck area during a breakaway play. Officials ruled the incident a flagrant 2 foul, resulting in Carrington being immediately removed from the game.
What happened when this young lady got ejected from a WNBA game the other day for a flagrant foul on Sophie Cunningham? Did y'all see that? She got ejected from the game for that flagrant foul right there. And I'll be damned if that wasn't a flagrant 2. She mugged her. Damn near came across like decapitating her, for crying out loud. That was definitely a hard foul. Make no mistake about it. Nobody can argue about it. You can say what you want. We know what we saw. No way around it. Dijonai Carrington foul was clearly unnecessary. It was a flagrant foul penalty too. It was absolutely positively correct.
On its own, that should have been the end of the basketball story. There was a hard foul, the officials reviewed it, a decision was made, and everyone could move forward, but somehow nobody moved forward. Instead, the incident exploded into a much broader debate involving player safety, coaching, social media, race, politics, fan loyalty, and eventually Stephanie White's future in Indiana. Suddenly, the Fever were not only dealing with what happened on the court, they were also dealing with what their own coach said afterward. That explanation might sound reasonable until you understand why so many people remained unconvinced. Cameras do not care about press conferences, personal relationships, or carefully chosen explanations. They simply capture what happens, and the footage circulating online has given critics plenty of reasons to question Stephanie White's account of the incident involving Dijonai Carrington and Sophie Cunningham. That created an uncomfortable gap between what viewers believed they saw and what White said she witnessed. Online discussions quickly focused on whether her explanation matched the available footage, and that is exactly where StephenASmith entered the conversation.
That Stephanie is stuck in is she knows Dijonai is a good person, but now she's coaching people who are likely taking money from the Heritage Foundation, has a large MAGA racist fan base, and they didn't like that she defended Dijonai.
Take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players.
Smith did not treat the issue as simply a debate over whether the foul should have been upgraded from a common foul to a flagrant. Instead, he focused on the much larger question of leadership, and that distinction matters because his criticism targeted White's responsibility as the head coach of the Indiana Fever. His argument was essentially that when you're the head coach, watching the game is not an optional task. You are expected to know what is happening on the court, recognize when one of your players has taken a dangerous hit, and understand when a situation demands an immediate response. When one of your players is left on the floor after a hard collision, fans naturally expect the coach to react before someone on social media has time to upload multiple camera angles, add dramatic music, and create another wave of scrutiny around the incident. That connection has fueled speculation among people who believe White's familiarity with Carrington may have influenced how she initially viewed the play. However, that theory should still be treated carefully because knowing a player does not automatically mean a coach will defend everything that player does.
A flagrant 2 every single damn time in the NBA and the WNBA. But you know things have devolved when you've got the Attorney General for the state of Florida saying that's why WNBA games ain't here because guess what? We are the prosecutor. Attorney General James Uthmeyer, the WNBA knows better than to play games down here in Florida because I'll be charging people with assault. I should probably clarify. Assault and battery. That is from the Attorney General of the state.
Coaches spend years working with athletes, learning their personalities, recognizing their tendencies, and building relationships that can sometimes continue long after a player leaves the team. White supporters can reasonably argue that she was simply explaining what she believed she saw in real time rather than intentionally protecting a former player. Her critics, however, are raising a different question, and it is much harder to brush aside. Would White have responded the same way if the incident had involved a player she had never coached? That question has become one of the main reasons this controversy refuses to disappear, because once trust enters the discussion, every explanation begins facing intense scrutiny. Then another moment completely changed the temperature. White addressed the growing criticism before the Fever faced the New York Liberty. And instead of delivering the carefully polished statement coaches usually offer when controversy surrounds their team, White essentially told her critics to take a hike. There is something almost perfectly chaotic about speaking about grace and humility while simultaneously making it clear to your critics that they can take a long walk in the opposite direction. It was the kind of statement that sounded as though two completely different personalities were battling for control of the microphone.
You're wrong, but it starts to make me think you care more about the overlying social issues and not pissing off other people in the league and saying men can play in the league because she's one of those players. Coaches, when asked, always is taking the far left side of it. This isn't politics. Your player got assaulted. Defend your player in the press conference. Be like, yeah, that was a dirty play. She should have hit the showers. She acts like she's the coach of the other team. I don't care if she's the best X's and O's when she's not. Get her the hell out of there. Either defend your players or get...
Still, the emotion behind White's comments was impossible to miss. She was no longer responding to one controversial foul. She was responding to what she believed was a much larger effort to divide her team and question her character. And to be fair, there is a legitimate argument to consider from White's perspective. Being a head coach in the WNBA is already demanding, But leading the Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark at the center of one of the biggest stories in women's basketball, brings an entirely different level of attention. Every decision becomes content. Every substitution becomes content. Every reaction becomes content. And apparently, every controversial foul now receives enough analysis to qualify for its own congressional hearing. The Fever have become one of the league's biggest attractions, meaning White is coaching under a microscope that very few coaches ever experience. However, StephenASmith's argument is not necessarily about the standings. It is about leadership. And that brings us to one of the most uncomfortable parts of this entire situation. Fever fans booing Stephanie White inside her own building.
Is the dumbest coach I've ever seen. Love, grace, humility, integrity. And you can go to hell if you don't love, grace, and integrity who I want. She is the dumbest human being to ever coach a professional sport. I say love wins. I will always have their back, except you didn't with Alyssa Thomas, except you didn't with Dijonai Carrington, except you didn't going back, except you never have. Hell, you're so stupid you can't even tell us what a woman is. You can't even tell us the difference between a...
Think about how unusual that really is. Why was not walking into Chicago, New York, or Las Vegas as the opposing coach? She was entering her own arena, surrounded by fans who were supposed to provide home court energy, yet some of those same fans were booing her. Smith emphasized that exact point when he delivered his reality check, reminding everyone that White was not the road team. She was coaching the home team. That goes beyond ordinary criticism. It becomes a warning sign. The situation became even more complicated when Caitlin Clark publicly defended White. Clark reportedly said the booing made her feel sick and made it clear that the players stood firmly behind their coach. She also indicated that the Fever were determined to win that game for White. That response matters because it creates two very different realities around the same basketball team. Inside the locker room, White appears to have support. Outside the locker room, the criticism continues to grow louder. That is a difficult reality because having the players behind a coach is powerful, but it does not automatically settle the questions surrounding her coaching decisions.
Plenty of chances to come out with a statement like this and chose not to come out with a statement like this. But when she saw that her job was in jeopardy, after the Lieutenant Governor of Indiana came out with that statement, after she came out to say that she believed that the play between Dijonai Carrington and Sophie Cunningham wasn't intentional, when she came out with that statement and she saw how those fans reacted to her saying that, how the governor of Indiana came out saying how she spoke about that. Now she wants to make a statement. Now she wants to try to flip her words and say that, oh, she didn't see video clips and see all this. Stand on business.
The fascinating part is that Cunningham herself has continued supporting White throughout the controversy, while White's broader message has focused on staying united and refusing to let outside pressure fracture the team. Then Caitlin Clark delivered her own response in the place where it matters most, on the basketball court. Against New York, Clark recorded 22 points and 10 assists as Indiana secured a 106-92 victory. The win also marked the Fever's 15th 100-point game of the season, adding another layer of irony to everything happening around the team. While people outside the locker room were debating whether Stephanie White should be fired, her team stepped onto the court and scored 106 points. Basketball has a strange sense of humor. Fans want consistency. They want their coach to protect her players. And when something controversial happens, they want the explanation to match what they believe they witnessed with their own eyes. That final point may be the biggest challenge White is facing. If she had simply admitted that she missed the play, acknowledged the mistake, and explained that she would handle the situation differently after reviewing the replay, perhaps the controversy would have faded much sooner. Instead, the story kept growing because every new explanation seemed to create another question.